Okay, so I wanted to look at some bicycling data. And what I'm doing here is I'm talking about what's known as a single subject design type of experiment. Although obviously this is not because I'm recording my own data. And one of the things you have to do when you're conducting experiments is try to be as objective as possible. So I'd say like I'm about 80% objective here because even though I'm recording the data myself, once I started using Strava, the data are available. And they are objective in that sense, right? But since I'm recording it myself and putting into the spreadsheet, there's some subjectivity there. So it's kind of a mix, but I'd say it's like an 80 so percent objective because again, it's available. All the data are available on Strava, except for the bunnies. Okay, so this is what's known as so this will be using what's an individual subject design or one subject design and applying it to my personal data. So this is something that you can do yourself, and you should do that. You should figure out how can I apply data to myself, these research methods to myself, so I can actually understand my data. So what I did is I created this spreadsheet. Has the date, the distance I rode, the time, although those three times are not right. That's okay because this was pre using Strava and I was doing the best I could just with my phone to record my time. I estimated mile per hour here. Once I started using Strava, I used what they provided. My climb, look how much I climbed during the run. That's provided by Strava. I always like seeing bunnies, so I was just recording how many I saw on a trip. And then cadence, so I didn't have a way to measure cadence until later down the road there when I got this Cuspo device that allows me to measure cadence. So let's take a look at this. So one thing you do in an individual uh, one subject design is you want to, what they say, create a baseline, a stable baseline as you're collecting data. Then you introduce an intervention, and then wait for stable for another for some stability in the measure to occur. Like so, you find what the person's level is, and then if you introduce another one, you can, or sometimes you'll take away the intervention to see if a person drops back to baseline to see if whether or not the intervention worked. Well, in this case, because this is more of a look at my own cycling, I'm not taking away the intervention, which is the new bicycle or the clipless pedals and stuff like that. But I can still use this to see how I'm doing. So first of all, before I had Strava, I just did my best to check my miles per hour, and I did one lap around Peace Valley Park here, and I did one on the canal. I didn't even have timing there, so those were before. This is the canal that runs around along the Delaware River past New Hope, going up to Easton. So but I did a small, basically 10-mile ride. It was the first ride cycling. So I was 6/1/24. That's been a year basically since I started cycling again. Then I started using Strava, and with Strava, I was recording and this was an old bicycle that I had, a Schwinn Racer, one speed, had a rear brake, I mean a front brake handle, the cantilever brake, and then the rear brake was like that old-fashioned brake where you just pedal instead of you couldn't pedal backwards, you just pedal and brake. No clip, no clips or anything like that. Not a clipless pedal, just a flat pedal, one speed. So here I was riding around Doylestown, different mileages. You can see that I wasn't going very fast. And climbs. Some of these climbs were pretty big. These were really hard, to be honest. With this one speed, it took a while for my legs to get strengthened. Then you see, so after a while, I started adapting. And I was doing basically this ride around Doylestown. So, uh, and then maybe Peace Valley. Peace Valley is a 6 mile, 6 miles basically for a lap. And I was doing like 2 laps. It was really hard. There's some difficult parts of that. So you can see how I was progressing. My miles per hour were in the 11s, basically. And it was pretty steady in terms of my climb. Once I started getting cadence, my cadence was around 60 if I was lucky. And again, this is a one speed bike. I had an accident that day, sadly. I hit some leaves that were really wet. It had rained the night before. This was in September. And I slid and got some bad road rash and hurt my shoulder for lasted a long time. And this is the end of the season for me, basically. This is when I started just shifting to skiing, started getting too cold. But average is probably, so I did my average mile per hour there was 11.0. So I just took all the miles per hour from each of these trips and then averaged them. So I had 11.056. Okay. Enter the new bike. This started in April. So it's my first ride, very short. So there you go. Not much change yet. I didn't have I wasn't recording cadence yet, but you can see already that the cadence was much better. So again, I did want to maintain an 80 revolution per minute, but it just was too hard here. I tried my best, but once I got the new bike, my goal again was 80. It was just kind of a really good RPM to have, regardless of what the hill is. So you have to do a lot of gear shifting. So I did a really good job maintaining 80 with that new bike. And my average miles per hour was 12.5. So it went up from 11.05 to 12.5. So this is showing you that there was an effect of that bike for me. So this is a carbon fiber bike. It's a giant. It's like I don't know if the gears are, geez, but it's probably like about, I don't know, 12 speed or something like that. It's a nice bike, flat bar, but it's pretty fast, very light. Okay, so you can see that I made some serious progress there. I got some new shoes and I didn't have the clipless pedals. I actually just used my shoes with my regular pedals. That didn't work out very well. All right, so I got the new pedals. So here we go. Looking at this. Okay, let's take a look at so I did a couple new rides, riding a little longer distances. And let's see. All right, so we look at my miles per hour here, 13.55. So again, I climbed from 12.55. I've also been doing longer rides. I did some longer rides. For me, longer. I don't want to do rides that are way too long. First of all, I don't have a place where I feel comfortable doing long rides here. So one of the things I want to be safe. I'm not going to go on roads that are dangerous during the weekdays. And the weekends, I'll do a good, try to do like a 20 mile or something like that. That's what my goal is. Sometimes though, like I'll go to there's this area in New Jersey that I go to where there's a time trial, and I try to work that out and see how well I can do there. It's tough. It's very hilly. I mean, last time I was there, I did 823 feet, and this is just a 6 mile, or actually it's an 8 mile now. The 6 miles blocked off, 8 mile loop. So I mean, it's a lot of hills. And then the other day I did another one that was really hilly, climbed 1,035 feet. But I'm starting to use the large chainring only. So you'll notice that I've been going off and on between them here, trying to get off using just so generally you use the rings in the front where your pedals are. The smaller one is easier, the bigger one is harder. So I want to try to use the bigger one only. It'll make me go faster, but then it's more difficult to pedal, especially climbing uphill. So you'll see my cadence, it has been okay, hasn't been quite at 80, but still pretty good, given that I'm making these changes. And if I'm hitting areas that have a lot of hills, it becomes much more difficult. So you see my cadence is around 70 in those cases, but it's starting to go up again. And the last thing is yesterday I added, fueling has been an issue. Like when I'm finishing these rides, I'm getting tired. So what I started doing was adding sugar to my water. So I'm using coconut sugar because I don't use regular sugar. We have to replace the glucose. Now, some people say if you rely on sugar, it might take away from your fat consumption. That's not necessarily going to be true. Good athletes are very good at metabolizing fat and using it for energy. but it should be a secondary. First one is the stored sugars, right? So help drinking sugar water would add some energy to me. So I'm experimenting with different levels. So I did 2 teaspoons in my bottle today. Yesterday I did 1 teaspoon. Seemed like it worked okay today. I mean, I felt a little bit better. Had a good climb, 739 feet. It's a lot of hills, so my speed is not as good. Route 29 is where I get to go the fastest because it's relatively fast. There's hills there, but they're minor and they're easier to manage. But if you look at my speed here, it's 13.55. So let's recap. One speed bike, heavy, not steel probably, 11.056 miles per hour on average. Changed my bike to the carbon fiber bike, but flat pedals, 12.5 miles an hour on average. Added the clipless pedals, 13.55. This is an example of the use of single subject design for myself so I can actually test hypotheses to see if indeed having this bicycle improves. My next step is I'm going to be adding drop these I forgot what they call them. They're like these bars, aero bars for people use them um for doing triathlons and stuff. I'm adding these aero bars for the longer rides. All right. Thank you.